Day 88, use SWOT scrutiny or SWOT analysis. SWOT, which of course I'll tell you what those letters mean in a moment here. It's no surprise, you should know this about me by now, that I'm not really the biggest fan of these little acronyms. The one I really can't stand is SMART goals. I really don't like that one. But I feel like, again, this is my personal opinion, so if it helps you, by all means, but I feel like these little acronyms that we're so used to throwing around, they're not always helpful, but they sound really cute and they're catchy, and that's kind of why we pass them around, not because they're actually helpful. I think so, a lot of times maybe like 2 or 3 of the letters are helpful, and then they cram another 1 or 2 because it doesn't sound cute and catchy without all 4 or 5 of them. Anyway, this one, SWOT, I actually think is really helpful, and I wish that I had developed this line and method of thinking when I first started my business. So anyway, this is an exception to the rule. So the first 2, SW, stand for strengths and weaknesses. And if you get in the habit of, there's many different ways of thinking about this, right? List of pro and cons, Venn diagram, etc. But I wish that I was more disciplined at actually sitting down and looking at the strengths and weaknesses of certain ideas, of certain plans, rather than just going with my hunch or what somebody told me was what I should do. And I think that what you really gain from getting in the habit of comparing the weaknesses and the strengths of any plan is that you start early on to develop that critical thinking that you're going to need, that is vital to the success of your business, because you're not always going to have a mentor to tell you what is right or wrong. You need to get in the habit of making those decisions yourself. So first 2, again, strengths and weaknesses. Get in the habit of looking at the strengths and weaknesses of any plan. It's your business. Treat it with the respect and the seriousness that it deserves, especially if you expect this business to pay your bills and, again, to be how you support yourself, right? So the last 2, OT, opportunities and threats, especially that last one, threats. I wish that I had gotten more into the habit of thinking and looking at that part, because there's always going to be a risk associated with investments, with certain marketing, with actions that you take in your business, right? Usually, not always, but usually there's going to be some risk affiliated with taking that action. So again, maybe this is just for me, but I would be so caught up in looking at the opportunity and the potential, which is not grounded in reality, that I would completely ignore or just dismiss the threat that it was, which is much more important to pay attention to and is actually much more realistic. So again, not the biggest fan of all these little acronyms. SWOT, getting into the habit of looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of anything that comes your way in your business will help you be a much more successful entrepreneur much quicker.